Hello, my name is Tom, and this is everything you need to know about economic growth for A-level economics. So, firstly, there are some definitions that you need to be familiar with. When we talk about nominal economic growth, this is economic growth at its face value. It's the change in GDP over the original GDP times 100. It's just percentage change from Maths GCSE. But real economic growth is a bit different. It's nominal economic growth, but we consider inflation. And when economists talk about economic growth, it's normally this metric. So there are three methods of calculating GDP, and they are all quite simple. So firstly, there's the expenditure method, which is the most common one that we use, and that's GDP is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus N. Consumption plus investment plus government spending plus exports minus imports. Then there's the income method, which is just adding together all the sources of income in a country. And then there's the output method, which measures the total output produced by the different sectors in an economy. So there are a couple of economic theories that you need to know. One of these is the multiplier effect, and this is the idea that an initial increase in GDP is actually far greater than just that initial injection. And this is because one individual's spending becomes another individual's income. So if one person earns £100 in a week and spends it all at a restaurant, that £100 is just spent at the restaurant now becomes the restaurant owner's money. And then they then use that money and spend it on some shoes, let's say, then the money becomes the owner of the shoe shop's money. And this cycle continues until all the money is used up. And this multiplier effect is greater when people save less, are taxed less, and spend money on domestic products rather than foreign ones. Because if I have that money and I spend it on some foreign shoes, then the money's going out of the economy and it's no longer counting towards GDP. And then there's also the accelerator effect, which is another theory suggesting that some economic growth leads to further economic growth. And this theory presumes that when the economy is growing, firms are more confident and then invest more money, which then increases GDP further. So let's talk about the benefits of economic growth. Firstly, higher living standards. So when real GDP per capita improves, people are on average richer. And this is also the only way to eliminate absolute poverty. Then unemployment decreases. Sustained economic growth stimulates job creation. Low unemployment leads to a more productive workforce and less spending on benefits. And finally, better public services. When the economy is doing well, governments receive more money from tax and spend less money on benefits. So they're therefore able to improve public services. Now let's talk about the cons of economic growth. So typically an increase in economic growth is met with some inflation, especially when the economic growth is high and unsustainable. Secondly, environmental costs. So an increase in economic growth can lead to more pollution or the usage of more finite resources such as oil. And finally, debt. If the economic growth was because of an increase in government spending, then this might be because the government is taking on more debt, which would have to be paid off with interest, which is a burden on future generations. So, in conclusion, economic growth is good as long as it is sustainable and not a result of harming the environment or too much government spending.